Hello, Dave. Alright, so let's do the explanation in regards to the reading stuff and the rhythms and the notes and all that stuff. Okay, so I got a chart here, which you already have, or something similar to this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically break down every single note on the board here, and we're going to understand how to use these when it comes to reading and actually playing the drums. So let's start with the very beginning. A whole note. It looks like this. Just a circle. Okay. So this might be a good opportunity to grab the chart that I sent you or whatever, so you can compare what you have there. So this is a whole note or a semi-brief, and this guy occupies 4 beats. Alright, so let me write this proper value. Alright, so that's the rest, which means when you see that, basically you stop playing for 4 beats. Alright, so the whole 4 beats, what does that mean? Very simple. So when you're counting, let's go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could be subdividing, doesn't matter, but this is based on the quarter note anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the whole note, when played on beat 1, will actually occupy all those 4 beats. In other words, you can't play anything whilst that whole note is still producing sound. So even if you don't play, this is the thing about drums, we have to think maybe the voice is a more, it's just a more, an easier way of understanding the length of notes. So for example, if I have a click, this is your click, 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole note on the 1 would be ba, ba, ba. Okay, so it lasts 4 beats. Alright, next one we got the half note. This guy only lasts 2 beats, which means once again we have the counting. And if you have a half note on the 1, can you see there? A bit of reflex there. So it's here on the 1. It's going to occupy 1 and 2 because it takes over 2 beats. And then you can play something else on beat 3, which can be another half note. Okay, so you can see it there. Alright, so I'm going to try to move the board to avoid the reflection. There you go. Cool. Alright, so half note takes 2 beats. So on beat 3 you are okay to play something else, which we can play another half note because we still have 2 beats left. A very important note is that we can't go over the bar line. In other words, you can't write a half note on beat 4 because a half note takes 2 beats, and on beat 4 you are 1 beat away from finishing that, from the end of the bar. So that's illegal. Alright, well, it would be a grammar mistake because this is a language, right? So, quarter note takes only 1 beat. Remember, these are the rests. The rests have exactly the same value, but silence rather than sound. Okay, so the quarter note takes 1 beat, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's color code this guy. And each quarter note only takes 1 beat. In other words, in 1 bar of 4/4, we can play 4 quarter notes. Because then we can play another one on the 2, another one on the 3, and another one on the 4. Once again, what we can't do, what we cannot do, is to play another note whilst the note that you just played is still producing sound. In other words, coming back to the whole note, I could never play a note on beat 3 because the whole note is still doing its thing. Okay? Alright, so now we're gonna get into the notes that are smaller, shorter I should say, than the beat or the quarter note. So now we have the 8th note, which only occupies half of a beat. So now this is when we start subdividing, because if we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not going to be very placement friendly. So we're going to have to subdivide this, and we're going to start saying the ends, so we get the other half of each beat, because now we are dividing these into 8 notes, so we get 2 8 notes per beat. So the ends give you this placement of the second one. Alright, so that's basically it. I already said everything. There's 2 8 notes per beat. And that's as easy as that, really. Next one, we have the 16th note. 16th note, 1/16th note only occupies a quarter of a beat. So in other words, we can play 4 of those per beat, 16 of those per bar. 1 E and the is the way we count, and we've done that in our lessons. So that's pretty much it. Very important is the rests. I've been saying the rests are exactly the same value. They are exactly the same value. What a lot of people forget is to count them. So when they are playing and then they have to stop playing for, I don't know, half note rest, 2 beats, they get lost because they lose track of where they are. We rely too much on mechanics, and that creates an issue. So, for example, if all this makes sense, let's use one of the examples that we were working on last Friday. Sorry, I'm a bit lost. I don't even know what day is today. So let's use one of those examples. Alright, so okay, let's use example number 2. So we have, and I'm going to write it on the board as well. So we got 1 E and, let me see here. And then an 8th note rest on 2, and then 2 16th notes, followed by a quarter note, followed by 4 16th notes. Alright, so we always choose the counting. Let me just point the camera at the exercise. There we go. We always pick the counting system according to the smallest subdivision, to the shortest subdivision. In this case, it's obviously 16th notes, so the counting system is going to be 1 ienda. Okay, cool, we got that down. And these simple formulas and rules should be memorized. So, to know that the counting system is always according to the shortest subdivision. This is important because when you change rhythms and we have different subdivisions, you need to know how to count them so you know how to play them. So, breaking it down one note at a time, we got 1 E, because these two are 16th notes. So the first one is obviously on the 1, so we can start with that. And then that's a 16th note because we have the 2 lines there. We know that the 16th note has that look. So the next note is a 16th note after the 1, which is the E. Now that guy, the second note, excuse me, I don't want to get ahead of myself. The second note is also a 16th note because also has 2 lines. So the next note, because you know that a 16th note is a quarter of a beat long, it only occupies the E. So it leaves the end free for you to play something else, which we have there, an 8th note. Now an 8th note occupies half a beat. In other words, 2 16th notes. So the N and the will be occupied by that eighth note because of its length. Okay, it's not 1/16 anymore. It's 2/16 notes. Okay, does that make sense? Alright. Beat 2. It starts with an eighth note rest. So once again, an eighth note is half a beat. In other words, equals 2/16 notes. So that eighth note rest will actually occupy the 2 and the E. Again, 2/16 notes, right? So that's going to be silence. Crucial to count that out loud though, even though you're not going to be playing it. Okay? Alright, so next we have a 16th note on the end of 2. So that's just 1/16 note that we occupy. We hit, and then we play another 16th note on the Alright, cool. And we get to beat 3. Here we go. Change the That's the quarter note. The quarter note takes the whole beat. Not the whole bar, like a whole note, but it takes over the whole beat. So it's going to be 3 E and that's that. Occupied by that quarter note. And finally we land on the 4 E and which is also easy because it's 4/16 notes. Boom, boom, boom. We play on every single one of those counts. Okay, so we broke it down now to the playing. So I'm going to clap this rhythm as I count out loud, super slow and then a little bit faster. So counting is going to be 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and a little bit slower. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 2/16 notes and an eighth note. 1 E and eighth note rest on the 2, which occupies also the E, so 2 E. 2/16 notes on the and of 2, so 2 E and quarter note on 3, 3 E and then 4 E and Okay? My advice is count out loud, clap these rhythms, forget the drum set, just clap the rhythms, and if you have to write the counting on top, at the top, and circle the counts that you have to play, you know, so you know really when should you hit or clap in this case, and when you shouldn't, etc., etc. Use all those hacks. But what I would also do is I would just play and read one beat at a time, 1 E and really nail and memorize what those figures, what those images, if you will, look like and what they sound like. So you start, this is how we develop reading, even in our own language of you know, English or Portuguese or music. We memorize what a word looks like. It is a visual reference, and then we associate a sound to that. That's it. That's it. And we have to do the same thing with music. So you're going to memorize that 2/16 notes and an eighth note sounds like this. You just will. You know that it sounds like that. That's the sound of that word. You will memorize that if you have an eighth note rest followed by 2/16 notes, you get this. Just know it, etc., etc. Okay? I hope this helped. Oh, before we go, actually, I should talk about the playing whole notes and semi briefs or minims, because you were asking about that. Okay. So a whole note. Let's go with the counting. I'm gonna clap whole notes, which is basically that. Okay. So we only hit or clap on beat 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 sorry, I shouldn't inhale there because it doesn't stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And the reason why I'm holding that note, which is killing me, is because a whole note lasts for 4 beats. That means, it doesn't mean that you clap it there and stops on the 2 and then you wait. No, 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 no. It lasts for 4 beats. So it keeps producing sound until you get to the very end of beat 4, or in other words, until you get to the next one, really. On the drums, that's not very intuitive because you can't make a snare drum sound last for 4 beats. So you have to imagine it, and that's why the voice is so important. Because the voice has that ability to make things last longer or to be shorter. Half note, obviously half of it's of the value of a whole note, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm clapping the pulse, not the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, lasts exactly 2 beats, stops on the 3. On the 3, then you can play something else or not. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I know that these notes that last longer than the quarter note, they can be a bit confusing and deceiving, especially when you only think drums. I think a lot with my voice. So for me, it was very easy to understand the length of the notes because I wasn't thinking, oh, but a snare drum doesn't last any time. It's just pop and it stops. For me, that never really made sense. I saw music in a much broader way. And, you know, maybe those days of playing the piano and being part of the youth choir helped. They sure did. I'm joking, but I'm actually being serious at the same time. So, let's look at drums, a drum set as a musical instrument, not a rhythmic instrument, and really start understanding all the aspects of music. So, I hope that helped, but one final note, the dot on a note, we were talking about that, right? When you have, say, a quarter note, but with a dot, we call that, of course, a dotted quarter note. The dot increases or makes the note, or let me see, the best explanation for this. The dot increases the value of the note by half of its value. In other words, a quarter note, originally it occupies only 1 beat. The dot will add half of a beat to that note, so the dotted quarter note will actually last for a beat and a half now. So the dot the value of the dot changes depending on the value of the note. Okay, so the rule is it increases the length of the note by half of its value. Cool? So if you have an eighth note, which original value undotted is half a beat, if it's a dotted eighth note, you're gonna add a quarter of a beat to that note, so that dotted eighth note will actually last for 3/4 of a beat. Okay, so that depends on the note itself, but just follow the rule. Wherever the note of the value is, you just add half of that. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. Right now it's all about practicing, so I would really suggest getting the syncopation book, and I can get that for you if you want. Actually, I'm getting a new batch soon, so let me know. And read a lot, as you did with books, and that's why you write so well. There you go. I hope that helped, and I'll see you Friday.